bring our that's okay. So in an effort to share, are you seeing that? All right, welcome. We're just getting started. Thanks for joining us. My name is Bret Schanzenbach with the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and in 2022, all businesses with 5 employees or more are going to be required by the state of California to provide some kind of retirement program, retirement plan. And so in an effort to help our members get up to speed and to know what options they have and to help them even vet those options a little bit, we are hosting this workshop today with John O'Reilly. And John's been in the business a long time. He can kind of share with you his background a little bit as he delves into this. But the whole purpose is to help you guys learn what options are available, how you can meet these requirements. And then, as I mentioned, also to help you evaluate which option might make the most sense for you, for your business and everything. So I'm going to turn it over to John, who's sitting right here to my left. If you're on Zoom, you probably can you see him? Yeah, okay, great. So John, take it away.
Hey, go ahead and if you want, I can put the mouse right there.
Yep.
All I need is
And you can hit the enter. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm John O'Reilly. I own O'Reilly Wealth Advisors. We're a registered investment advisor. We're actually the fiduciary advisor for the Carlsbad Chamber 401k plan. Yeah, I have a couple of weird automations in there. So, right now we're facing kind of a once in a lifetime situation where we have a whole bunch of companies that are facing this deadline of June 30th, and it's companies with 5 or more employees. And I'll talk a little bit more about how many companies there are. But you either have to have a plan available for your employees. And I put that term "want to participate" because I've had some people that have come to me saying, well, does every employee have to participate? And no, it's just like any other retirement plan. It's their option to participate or not, but you have to have a plan available or use the state of California provided CalSavers. And for every kind of plan there's eligibility rules as well. So it gets complicated when you start digging down into the layers, but I'm hopefully going to give you kind of a more high level simplistic view to help give you some guidance so you can move forward and just make some decisions and get this done, because it's going to be, I think, a little bit chaotic as we get closer to the deadline. I wanted to mention that the CalSavers too is an auto enroll type of program. What that means is that if the employee is not engaged and they do nothing, then they will automatically be enrolled, putting 5% of their money into the plan. And that is a good feature to have in a plan, but it's a mandatory feature in CalSavers. But employers will have to comply with the CalSavers instructions if they decide they go to that direction. And all employers, even if you already have a plan, you have to prove to the state of California that you have a plan. You have to go to CalSavers and register your plan. So just because you already have a plan doesn't mean you can't get away with not doing anything. You do have to let them know that you have a plan. So let's talk about the timing to get started. So how many does this affect? Well, California employees 5 to 49. If you have more than 50 or more, you've already had your deadline passed. So this last deadline is for employees of 5 to 49 total. There's about 260,000 companies in the state of California, and it's about 21% of the companies in the state of California that fall into this range. So this is a large number of companies. If we assume that 60% already have plans, that's still 104,000 companies that have to comply, which is 8.7% of the companies in the state of California. And if we assume 10% of those companies are in San Diego County, I'm not sure if that's a good assumption or not, that means we're at 10,000 companies just around here that need to comply, that have to do something soon. So we think that the providers are going to be, at the very least, they're going to be straying with the last minute rush, particularly once we get towards the end of the deadline. I was going to include a scene from a movie called Far and Away. And but I just tell you that, you can look it up later if you want. But in 1893, Oklahoma had there was the land rush in Oklahoma where you could go grab your claim and get 40 acres free. And they're all lined up to go grab the land. And it's just a real fun scene because you see all these horses and people and wagons, and it's super chaotic, and people are shooting each other, and wagons are turning over. And a guy, Tom Cruise in the movie, he hits his horse like hitting it across the face with a punch because it was not acting well, and all this stuff. Anyway, it's just really funny. But that's kind of how I envision this looking from the March to June timeframe. It's going to be chaotic. I mean, think about it. I mean, a lot of companies have trouble hiring right now, and that's true among the financial services companies too. And I don't think they're building up. I don't think they're anticipating this. And this is not an ongoing thing. It's a one-time thing. So I think it's going to be a little crazy. So, and then you look at CalSavers itself, which is a governmental institution, and they're 100% in the state of California. So they're going to be really impacted. Whereas you look at a national firm, you know, only 20% of their business, let's say, is in California. So they can borrow from other parts of the company maybe, but CalSavers itself, being the government institution, I think they're going to be swamped. So we encourage you not to wait. Do it now or start immediately after the holidays in early 22. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Here we go. So there's a reason why the chamber is hosting the 3 sessions, and that the last one is anticipated to be in late January 22, because we're assuming that, you know, once we get past that, it's going to be kind of crazy. So what are some of the factors in deciding? Well, one is what features do the employees want now and in the next few years? We'll talk about what those features are. Another question is, you know, what is your, do you intend to use the plan to attract and retain talent? And if you do, the best option for that is a 401k with a match. What features do the owners want now and in the next few years? And by the way, the reason I say next few years is because it's not real easy jumping in and out of types of plans. So you kind of you don't want to make a decision that's probably good for just 1 year. If you know you want to be in the 401k by within a year from now, then just start with the 401k. What can the company afford for out-of-pocket costs and additional compensation or match costs? So there's really 3 types of fees here. There's the fees that the company pays out of pocket. There's the fees that are paid from within the plan, but if the plan is at 0 balance, you can't pay any fees from inside the plan. And then there's the fees that are essentially additional compensation. That's what I would think of as the match cost there. It's additional compensation. So if you have X amount of money, that's your total compensation for the year. And if you assume everybody participates and you have to match at 3% for a simple IRA, then that means that your overall compensation is going to go up by 3%. So that's one of the costs to consider, although not everybody will participate. So yes, it is possible to change plan types, but it's a pain. So anticipate the future, not just exactly your situation right now. Think about how things are going to develop over time. So there's the 401k, and I refer to that to the Swiss Army knife because you can do practically anything with the 401k, and you have a lot of options. There's not many things that are mandatory. And then you have the simple IRA, which is kind of like a junior 401k that's less flexible and future poor. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. And then there's CalSavers. So really, one of the key things to take out of this workshop is your 3 most likely options to choose from are those 3 on the screen right now. 401k, and within the 401k, there's 2 paths you could take there, which we'll also talk about. Now, something that we're not going to get into very deeply here, there is something called a SEP IRA, which stands for Simplified Pension. That is a pension, which means it's 100% company contribution. There's no employee contributions. That would be best for a situation where you have 100% of the employees are either family or partners, because you're literally paying from company profits to pay all the fees, all the contributions into that plan. So we're not going to be talking about that one, but if you have a question about that, feel free to contact me. So let's look at within the 401k, there's two ways you could go. There's what we refer to as a standalone plan, or think of it as a traditional plan. And then there's the aggregation plan. Now, the aggregation plan is something that's been around a long time, but it's really gained a lot of momentum most recently. What it is imagine you could get tens of thousands of small businesses together, and you could share all the costs of the plan, and you could get the economy of scale that goes with bringing together so many companies. That's what an aggregation plan is. And then what they do is they don't want to have companies in there that aren't compliant. So what they do is they add an extra person, an extra fiduciary, an administrative fiduciary, that not only make sure all the tasks get done, but they also take responsibility. They take fiduciary liability for getting those tasks done. So it's really the best plan. I always tell people that if I was to sell my company and get hired by corporate America and they asked me to oversee the 401k plan, I would probably try to get that plan into an aggregation plan as fast as I could, because it's really, as I say there, sometimes too good to be true. It's actually true, and that's why it is. So if that's the case, why would you want a standalone plan? Well, I guess because you actually have a lot of interest in overseeing and managing a 401k plan, and particularly the providers that make it up. And if that's not your main business, then why you want to do that, I don't know. So there's a reason why Congress has made these plans even easier. And there's a reason that this is the fastest growing plan type. So, again, it's hard for you to imagine why you would not want to go aggregation plan. But if you have questions about that, let me know. But that option is offered through the chamber as one of your chamber benefits. We're not trying to sell that to you today. We're just saying that if you decide the 401k option is best for you, we'd strongly encourage you to consider the aggregation plan. The chamber put it there for a reason, because they knew that it was an awesome solution and that would serve all the small businesses here that need to do that. And they want to have something that allows them to keep focusing on their main business and not have to deal as a slave to a 401k plan. So what are some of the features to consider? Well, what's the, for employee, EE stands for employee. How much is allowed to plan? So for example, CalSavers, you can only put in 6,000 if you're under 50, 7,000 if you're over 50. Simple IRA, and by the way, the CalSavers is a after-tax contribution. Simple IRA is only a pre-tax opportunity, no Roth. But it has a little bit higher. It's 13.5 under 50, 16.5 over 50. So if your employees are such that they realize they need to save more aggressively for retirement, then you definitely want to go with the 401k that has the maximum allowed contribution. Also, what about the nature of the contribution I mentioned a moment ago? Does it offer pre-tax, after-tax, or both? Well, the 401k, being the Swiss Army knife, it offers both. But the simple IRA is only pre-tax, no Roth option, and the CalSavers is only the Roth option. And then you want to talk about the match. So, is there even a match possible in the CalSavers? No match possible. In the simple IRA, the match is mandatory. And then in the 401k, it's optional. Now, there's always more complexity as you get into your deeper, but in the 401k, you may want to have a match so that everybody can put in their maximum contribution, but it's not mandatory to have a match. And then profit sharing, is it possible? In CalSavers, it's not possible. Is it mandatory? And mandatory would be the SEP IRA, which we're not going into detail today, or is it optional as it is with the 401k? Again, the Swiss Army knife is the 401k. Ease of compliance risk. I'd say that's sort of a tie between maybe the simple IRA and the aggregation plan, but I think even aggregation plan is probably a little bit better. And then there's advanced capability for owners and family. And so what I'm talking about here is if your company is in the situation where it's been around for a number of years, it's really gotten steam going, it's really making a lot of profits. If there's a fairly small number of employees and there's a couple family members involved, the family members have sacrificed for the sake of the business. They've not saved for retirement. They're in their late 40s to 60s. They realize they're behind saving for retirement. Then they can do combinations of plans. So if they have a 401k and they're doing a match and they're doing profit sharing, and then they can add on another plan called a cash balance plan. And so owners and family then could conceivably be putting away, $200,000 pre-tax, because the IRS basically rewards them for being generous. So if you want that advanced capability for owners and families, you want the 401k. So let's talk about scenarios and decisions. So again, the most flexibility now or in the near future, 401k. If you don't want any plan or match costs, because CalSavers kind of is free. I mean, you've still got to comply with CalSavers. If you decide to go CalSavers, they're going to probably send you a package. They're going to give you instructions on things you have to do. You're going to probably have to have an employee meeting, pass out materials, things like that. And for all these, you've got to connect your payroll system to the plan. But if you don't want any plan or match costs, and you don't care about any features, you just want to be able to say that you just want to be able to comply, then maybe you want to go with CalSavers. I don't think many people do, but it's possible. If your key employees want to maximize their contributions, then that's 401k. If you want to match, you want to keep your costs low, you don't care about having no Roth option, then a simple IRA could be an option for you. Again, it limits you on the contributions to 13.5 versus 19.5 for the 401k, but it could work for you. And then if you want to maximize your contributions but have no match, you could theoretically do that with the 401k. Little asterisk there means that you'd have to pass a testing at the end of the year, or some of the people, if they're highly compensated employees, they may have to take back some of their contributions. If you want to have the option for your employees or you to either do a Roth, pre-tax, or both, then that's 401k. You'll notice that all the answers here are 401k so far, more than any other one. That's kind of a hint. If you want to have the option for profit share, that's got to be 401k. 401k obviously is probably the one that's going to match. It's going to be the best match for most people. I shouldn't use the word match. Going to be the best fit for most people. Simple IRA, not quite as simple as it seems. So let's talk about expectations here. It takes about a month to get going. The term simple is a little bit of a mislabel because none of these are really completely simple. The match cost can be a little bit tricky when you're first starting in a partial year. So just be aware of that. I can explain that to you more further if you want to talk about the simple IRA. The simple IRA match is 3%. There's an asterisk there because the rule is that's got to be 3% for 3 out of every 5 years. It can be 1 or 2% in the other 2 years. So in terms of your cost considerations, there is an option where instead of matching just the people that are contributing, you can match every single employee with 2%. See, all these have different options, but most companies prefer to only match the people that are contributing to kind of reward them for their sacrifice saving. The 401k match 4%, again, an asterisk there because there's multiple scenarios with the 401k. The most common one ends up being that if the employee contributes 5%, the company matches 4%. The 401k takes about 2 months to get going. And the method of getting it going, can be kind of frustrating for people because most people want to think, okay, I make the decision, I sign a paper, okay, I'm done. But it's not that way with the retirement plan. It's provide information, sign a paper, wait for a little while, provide information, sign a paper, wait a little while. It's this action, wait, And so to keep it going, you want to make sure that as each action comes in front of you, that you act on it right away. And so that you're not being the one that's causing extra time into having to get in place. And I think this is going to be especially true given the potential stampede that's going to be happening here in the next 6, 7, 8 months. I think if you make a mistake or you're slow, your stuff may go into the slow pile, and all these providers, which are going to be inundated with thousands of people that want plans, they're going to go after. They're going to help the people that are immediately responding, and anyone who has mistakes or is causing a slowdown, they'll probably put you in a different pile. So I think, especially given this one-time scenario that's happening right now, you want to make sure that you're on top of this. Now let's talk about providers that are involved with these plans. First of all, talking right now is an advisor, and guess what? I'm not even required. You can do this completely on your own if you want. Most people don't want to do that. I don't recommend it. But if you do get someone to help you, get someone who's a pure fiduciary, a registered investment advisor, because they're going to always put your interests first, and that's who you want helping you. So I strongly encourage you to make sure that you get someone who's a fiduciary to help you. There's going to be mutual funds involved, of course, and in some cases there can be ETFs as well. As far as platforms go, you can go with the mutual fund platform. The reason I say not recommended is that means you're a slave to that mutual fund company. You'll only be able to use their funds, and their funds may not always be the best. Ideally, you want an open architecture custodian or record keeper, completely transparent, that gives you access to all the mutual funds in the universe. Now what is it going to look like as far as the providers go? Well, if you have a simple IRA, the way that works is that each employee has their own separate account. It's on a brokerage platform, like say TDA, for example. And they just log in to go look at their account, and they can see stuff immediately involving their account. Whereas with the 401k, you're going to have a login platform where it's much more involved. It'll show you what the fund lineup choices are. It'll have a bunch of other helpful information about financial planning and things like that. With the providers on 401ks are more complicated. Of course, if you have the aggregation plan, it helps you a little bit. For example, the 401k administrator is going to do testing every year. I referred to that. Now, they don't have to do testing if you're doing what's called a safe harbor match, which is that 4% scenario that I mentioned a bit ago. There's also a kind of a tax return that has to be filed on the 401k every year, called a Form 5500. The providers will help you with that, but you'll still have to sign off on it and take the liability for it unless you're an aggregation plan, in which case they actually put together the 5500 and they sign it too. They take on the liability for it. You don't have to sign it. So that's another reason why the aggregation plan is a really good option, because that fiduciary is not only helping you with these tasks, they're taking on the liability for the tasks. And then you need, a payroll company that has some competence. They have to get the funds to the accounts. They have to do it within a fairly short time frame. There's laws about that. And so you really need to make sure that your payroll's on the ball, and they're going to be providing you great assistance. And you got to be on the ball yourself to make sure those payrolls go fast and the money gets into the client, into your employees' accounts quickly. And that's it. We set aside an hour for this. We're 24 minutes, so I'm just going to open it up for questions. This is a workshop, so anyone have any particular questions?
Any of our Zoomers have a question? You can just unmute your microphone if you have a question. As John mentioned, we set up the aggregate plan here at the Carlsbad Chamber, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I think. Knowing that this deadline was coming and knowing it was also the best plan for us, for our team. So it's got a lot of, it makes it much simpler for us to manage, and it provides us the best protection against liability. for us. So we're very happy with it, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions on that if somebody had one. Although John would probably answer it better than I would.
So I just put the slide up, which is really kind of the key point here is, what are the three most likely options that you want to pursue to comply with this law? The 401k, simple IRA, or CalSavers, and with the 401k, the best option under that being the aggregation plan, which you can get through the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce.
John, if somebody was interested in more details about the aggregate plan, they could just reach out to you and set up an appointment, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, if you have any questions on any of this, I'll give you my time for free to talk about, any of these things as a fellow chamber member. Even if you don't hire me as your advisor, I'll still give you some time to help you think through these different choices.
All right, guys, any questions online? 3, 2, 1, last chance. All right, well, thanks for taking some time to join us. Since there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and close up and grant you back an extra half hour of your life today. And
There you go.
See you soon. So thank you, everybody.
Have a great day. I hope everyone is still, we don't have anyone in a coma out there.
Yeah.
Just ask your coworker to shake you or something.
Go ahead. You can just end it.
I ended it.
Go ahead, looks like it's still.
Because you're the master.